Let's start with Bradley Chubb, projected to go in the top 5, which is why, well, you have the teams with the number 1 and the number 3 selection in there.
Yeah, Bradley Chubb is arguably the best player in the draft. He's the clear, unanimous, consensus choice as the best pass rusher. The teams that are listed, the Cleveland Browns, the Indianapolis Colts, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the New York Jets are all in the mix for a pass rusher. The Cleveland Browns obviously have Myles Garrett. They got some production out of Emmanuel Ogbah. But just imagine, just for
a second, Myles Garrett on one side.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about having to win your division. Just imagine if they decide to go Bradley Chubb and Myles Garrett back to back. That would be intriguing. The Indianapolis Colts are a team that seriously should consider taking Bradley Chubb because they haven't had a dominant pass rusher in years. Robert Mathis gone, Dwight Freeney gone. They need someone that can help them play better defense, and the best way to play better defense is knock the quarterback down. He can do that. Tampa Bay, we've mentioned it multiple times, need a playmate for Gerald McCoy. And then the New York Jets, Muhammad Wilkerson's gone. Someone needs
Richardson
to fill
gone.
that. They need to fill that role. They need to find another big body up front to go with Leonard Williams.
And just real quick, you mentioned the premium you put on pass rushers. Those teams picking 1st, 3rd, 6th, and 7th. Not good seasons for teams that can't develop a pass rush during a game.
You got to be able to knock the quarterback down. You talk about turnovers. Well, the way that you create turnovers is to force the quarterback to throw the ball early or to hit him and make the ball come out. You have to have multiple pass rushers. Sometimes it's multiple on the outside. Sometimes it's one outside and inside. But regardless, he's the number 1 guy. He's the guy that can be the lead horse when it comes to your pass rush.
I don't think Cleveland's crazy at all because let's say Darnold, let's just say for the sake of argument, Darnold went 1, Saquon went 2 after his workout, a trade up to Indianapolis at 3.
To get a quarterback.
Because Indianapolis needs picks and players to get a quarterback, and all of a sudden there you are at 4. I mean, why not try to dominate with pass rush on both edges?
I mean, just go after it. You talk about just being able to go after it. The front end can affect the back end more than the other way around. You get a dominant pass rush, you can play with pedestrian corners in the back end, but because your pass rush is so fierce and ferocious, you can get wins. Just the prospect of having a Myles Garrett and a Bradley Chubb would be scary. Even with Emmanuel Ogbah there, you can never have enough. When you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, the one thing that they've been able to do, they have accumulated a lot of pass rushes because you can dominate up front.
And the sub-rush packages that you want to put together anyway.
You can't go wrong, take good players.
Yeah. And I think the overall numbers may not be impressive to someone just looking at a season's worth of statistics. But remember, Myles Garrett was injured. When he was on the field, he was a major player. I mean, one of the most disruptive forces in a pass rush. And I guess just speaking from selfishness, bias, experience, I mean, I watched a team with Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram.
And you saw the impact.
I mean, wrecked. He was number 1 pass defense in the league. So, I mean, just absolutely wreck teams because you can't double both sides. And certainly, I mean, they need a quarterback, though. Saquon's probably the number 1 prospect in the entire draft. And as you said, their defense is set up to do some damage already. Don't know if that's almost a luxury pick for it. But I wonder if it gets past the Colts.
I think what you do is you weigh Bradley Chubb versus Emmanuel Ogbah. Who would be my starter? Bradley Chubb. Emmanuel Ogbah could be my guy that rotates in. It would allow everybody.
That third rush in.
You have 3 rushes. It would allow everyone to be fresh. You cut down the snaps like we saw Philadelphia do for most of the season. Then you ramp it up when it gets time to go time. Hopefully, if you're the Browns, you're talking about playoffs. That is how people are doing it. That's how you get that rotation.
You know what? Now that you mention it, and granted, Philadelphia had their quarterback in Carson Wentz, but think about it. That's a dominant defensive line. What did they do last year in the first round? Derek Barnett just added another body because he was probably the best player on their board, and that's what they went out and got.
Seattle kept doing that as well. They kept adding rushers every single year. So you can never have enough. You know, and you talked about the Colts. The Colts obviously need running back now. They need to fix both fronts, offensive line, and they need to get a pass rusher. And then we'll see what happens with the quarterback position. But Bradley Chubb, to me, I mean, you better get a heck of an offer if Bradley Chubb is there at 3 and somebody wants to move up.
And you haven't had a pass rusher since Robert Mathis.
It better be a really good one because I think he is game ready, and I think he has a very high floor and a tremendous ceiling.